Hello and good morning. I'll welcome you to the morning meeting today on Wednesday, the 7th of March 2018. This is Instant speaking, exclusively presenting this format to you here for JFD Brokers. We want to have a look at the markets and developments in the European equity markets especially. DAX started with losses into the trading day, attacked the level around 12,000 points again. Main reason for that, Gary Cohn, the I think chief economic advisor to the Trump administration / the White House here, is about to resign. I think mainly due to the fact that he is known as a neoliberalist and someone who is strictly against any tariffs and tariff plans from the Trump administration, or respectively from Donald Trump, as mentioned last week on Thursday. So it was in fact only a question of time. And now after the tax reform is through, which was where Cohn acted as the chief architect, let's say, or the one who brought up his whole knowledge here. After that, I mean, probably there is no real need to have him in the White House as the economic advisor anymore. That's one of the reasons why we now see the DAX dropping like a stone initially. Starting with the true gap lower, which was already closed, and now something interesting happened. So in fact, the gap close occurred, something which does not come as such a big surprise, I think, because usually we have a saying which says that such political developments usually have short legs when it comes to the financial markets. And I have to be honest, I think that's probably even more attractive to be long right now with the ECB around the corner tomorrow. So in fact, I think this is a classic short trigger, but in the morning when I mentioned this and I said that we're trading below the 50 exponential moving average here, for example, and the region around the lows from yesterday is a potential short trigger, I didn't feel really well, because I think that now, especially with Cohn resigning and probably underlining that Trump really wants to go for such tariffs, and that he really plans to have serious discussions around such plans. I think that here the ECB is probably forced to really start an attempt to down talk the euro somehow. So I've presented this thought already at the beginning of the trading week, respectively already last week. That was unfortunately only in German then, in my weekly piece I wrote on the markets. But with the ECB coming together tomorrow, and after the comments from Steven Mnuchin, the the Minister of Finance here in the US, who down talked aggressively the US dollar in Davos on the 24th of January, and which resulted then in a quite interesting, let's call it interesting reaction from Mario Draghi. Usually you expect him to be objective, to really be calm, relaxed, but he was really outrageous. You had the feeling he was really outrageous, that there was this strong attempt to down talk the US dollar. And as you may remember here, that's also something which is then becoming a topic in a few seconds then, by the way. It's the case that here there was this shot higher, not just on the 24th, but also on the 25th then. So Draghi wasn't capable of down talking the euro. Instead, he mentioned that he thinks that this is not the behavior which is something ECB, respectively central bankers and politicians, agreed on in Washington last year in October, I think. But however, the thing is that Draghi didn't go out here and started to down talk the euro on the 25th of January, but now he has, with the inflation rate, a good position to probably start at least an attempt to somehow weaken the euro somehow with comments tomorrow. And the interesting thing is that probably the ECB has to do that, since those plans around tariffs here would also hurt the Eurozone economy, on top of an already quite strong euro, which is hurting the Eurozone and somehow resulting in difficulties for the ECB to reach their inflation target of 2%. And with this said, I think there's a high chance that, especially now with Cohn resigning and obviously communicating that Trump probably really wants to go for such tariffs, and that there will be serious discussions around them, that now the ECB has to do something to at least try to weaken the euro, at least short term. And that will be achieved thanks to a more dovish rhetoric, I think. This is usually something which should weaken the euro on one hand. By the way, here you can see that the range on the lower end around 2170, 2220. If you duplicate this range on the downside, we will come out somewhere around 118. So it could be that this is the potential target if we really see a down talking here, and after the stint above 123.50 towards 124 and above that level, that this is a potential fake move, and instead we see a bigger drop on the downside here. And if we then go below that level, that then in the next days the euro is probably about to make it down to as low as 120 and below that 118 probably. And with this said, I think chances are high that the DAX then has some potential on the upside if such speculation really take on some momentum here. And with this said, now after the gap close, and if the market can really probably make it above 12,100 points again, today could be the start of a more and stronger move here, which could push us at least to the closing price from last Friday, 12,160 points, and probably also above that. So yeah, so in fact, now the DAX made it back above the 50 exponential moving average, currently is fighting with this level here. And as you may know, I consider this to be not just a trend filter, but also solid support and resist. And if we make it above that level, that's usually an indication that, at least from an intraday perspective, the market is now has seen its lows and is now pushing higher, similar to, for example, what happened here on Monday. So you can see we started out very weak. There was a high supply, oversupply here at around 11,900 points, which came in a quite thin market environment between 7 and 8 a.m. GMT here. That's when the pre-market phase takes place in the FDAX, in the future DAX here, in the Eurex. And then the market reversed sharply, made it back above this exponential moving average, and then could, based on that, even though it was not such a spectacular trading till the US markets opened, but when they opened, you can see that the market really pushed higher from here, respected it on the next day, and then after falling back below that level, started to continue to drift lower. That was yesterday, Tuesday, trading day. And so let's just see how things develop here today. So far, I have to say, based on my thoughts around the ECB and potential that they could come out more dovish tomorrow, probably the DAX has seen its lows, will make the week, or close the week, then significantly above 12,000 points. On the other hand, if I'm completely mistaken, I mean, there is another chance then that probably the DAX will start another and even more aggressive attempt to attack 12,000, probably drop below that level. And if we fall below 12, the next target is 11,900 points, and probably even lower than that. But right now, I have to say, if I had to bet, I'd go for the long side instead of the short side. So this is it on the DAX. Let's have a look here then on the Euro USD. Again, pushing higher, even though I somehow doubt that this is a sustainable move. I'd be really careful if, for whatever reason, I was long against 2170, 2220 here, this green box respectively, going along with a break above 123. I'd probably start to be a little more aggressive with my stop here and trail it after the market, since I somehow have the feeling that even though volatility will stay moderate, let's say, over the next 24 hours till the ECB meeting takes place in the press conference with Mario Draghi then tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. GMT. Nevertheless, I think that there's a serious chance that there will be an attempt to down talk the euro, and probably Euro USD probably sees a quite significant push lower here. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, if you're long, you want to probably be a little more aggressive with your stop. Nevertheless, things turn sour for the bulls, Euro USD bulls, once we push below 2170, 2220. Within or above that level and below 25.50 here, we are trading within a range and have to wait until we break out of this range. Yeah, so that's it on the Euro USD. Also something very interesting today, dollar Canadian dollar. Also around the resignation from Gary Cohn, because he was also someone who was known to say that. One second, I just have to look up something here. That's a little surprising. One sec. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, my website just froze. I thought that I was talking and no one's listening, but everything's fine here. Okay, cool. So Gary Cohn was one of the guys who said that probably it's not that they should completely abandon the NAFTA agreement here, but probably renegotiate it. So with Cohn now resigning, chances rise that probably there will be a quite aggressive approach from Trump here in terms of this NAFTA agreement, which would definitely weigh a little more heavy on the Canadian economy. Today at 3 p.m. GMT, we have the Bank of Canada with their rate decision. I don't think that there will be anything announced here, so everything will stay the same. Nevertheless, it will be really interesting to listen to what they have to say in terms of the economy. I'm not sure whether they will really mention Cohn's resignation here. Nevertheless, I mean, there's enough time now to probably change the statement a little and try to somehow don't talk the Canadian dollar here somehow, and reduce speculations around further rate hikes here. Let's say to another, I think it was 2. The market was speculating on to further rate hikes in the upcoming months in 2018 here. And we also remember, you might have listened to the morning meeting already in the past. It was that the Bank of Canada was behind the Fed, the central bank in the world, and the G10 currency universe, from which market participants expected at least one hike till June 2018. So with the resignation of Cohn, probably these chances and when looking at those NAFTA negotiations, I think that this could probably leave the Canadian dollar vulnerable to further losses if the Canadian Central Bank, the BOC, today comes out with a more dovish stance, the more dovish rhetoric here. And even though we might agree, or we both agree that here the market will find strong resistance around the 130 on the upside, I think there's a serious chance, and even though it's not just a strong resistance line, but also that the market looks a little extended when looking at the developments from the last 4 or 5 weeks, that here from 120.70, 123, we pushed as high as 130, that here with this move, the market looks a little extended on the upside. I think there's definitely, nevertheless, some room for further gains in a dollar Canadian dollar, which could push us definitely above 130. Same is true also for currencies like a Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, a very exotic currency pair, but also here you can see very extended on the downside. I think some might say, hey, we'll definitely see rather sooner or later a sharp rebound. And sure, the BOC could deliver such a rebound if they come out more restrictive, but chances for such a aggressive pullback here diminished overnight, I think. And by the way, more infos on the Canadian dollar Japanese yen, even though it's a very, very exotic currency pair, you can find it on our research website, JFD Research. You can get access to this website via jfdbrokers.com, and there you find research and education. So this is a German website, but it's the same layout here. So research and education, JFD Research, and there you have a technical outlook also for the Canadian dollar Japanese yen today, which was prepared from Darius. Also here some thoughts on the Canadian dollar in general. 1 second, where is it? Here. So here, concerns over trade war heighten after Cohn's resignation. Cat traders lock gaze on BOC, and there's also here Canadian dollar Japanese yen. Will we see a bit of a recovery at least? So definitely something on the Canadian dollar to be found on our research page from JFD Brokers. And in fact, that's it from my end. Nothing more to say, nothing more to add here. I wish you happy trading. Watch your stops. Talk to you again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. GMT with the morning meeting, and wish you all the best. Happy trading. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow. See you, and bye-bye.